Episode 92, WeGoinIN presents here with Rec Riddles, who just dropped Scam Musial. Rec, how are you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Can't complain, man. Life is good. Just out here cranking out good music as usual, man.
And I love what you're doing with Scam Musial and just what you're doing overall with your music and your lyricism. I first heard about you on Southern Vanguard, and I was like, definitely got to track you down for an interview. So props on Scam Musial, man.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
So putting this album together with Capo, man, what was that process like? Especially looking at the production, the lyricism, really blending it all together to just be the cohesive project that it is.
Well, I met Capo back in 2015, I want to say, through a mutual friend out in St. Louis. And I just always was a fan of his production. He was always a fan of my MC skills, but we never really quite linked up and got into the studio to work. So he was working on a compilation in 2021, and he wanted me to be a part of that. And he sent me a bunch of tracks, a bunch of beats, and based off of the beats that he sent me, I said, you know what? Let's just go in and do a full length project. Because at the time, I was looking for new producers to work with. I was kind of getting tired of producing the music myself. And it kind of just built from there, And a beautiful thing about Cap is that he's a legit fan of mine and I'm a legit fan of his. So it was really easy to get in the studio and create that cohesion between the two of us. And he kind of really tailor fit the beats to my style. So it was really easy for the project to come together, man. Definitely.
That's great. And you talk about that authentic like appreciation for each other's skills and talents. What's the difference there when you can tell there's that authentic appreciation versus like, I'm doing this to get my name out there. I'm doing this because you bought a beat or, someone's paying you for a verse, but you don't really love the song you're getting on, but it's a paycheck. Like, what's the difference there? Like, especially in the final product, can you tell the difference?
You can definitely tell the difference because I feel like the music will lack passion. It'll lack authenticity. You can definitely tell when two guys are doing it because they love what they're doing and they actually love what each other are doing. Like Cap never came to me with any ideas as far as what I should write. He trusted me to be able to bring those beats to life and actually tell a story and present something lyrically. And it was the same with me. I never asked him to create any kind of sound or style of beats. I just, as he was cranking them out, I was writing to him. So you can definitely tell the difference. And it's always a better product when the two guys have mutual respect, admiration, and love for what the other one brings to the table.
That's awesome. And when you look at that process and you're doing your thing with the writing, he's doing the production, how many beats did it take, to go through and like, the back and forth process, what was that like as you guys settled on, this is going on the album, this needs some work, or this is great, but not really for this project. Like what was that whole back and forth like?
It's funny that you say that because most of the beats that Cap sent me actually made it onto the finished product. It didn't actually take a lot of work as far as I don't really like that one. It was literally he'd send me maybe 4 or 5 beats in per email, and I would end up writing every single one of them. So it was kind of cool actually. Seeing what he would come up with next as we were, going through the process. And we actually recorded this, together. And so as I was laying vocals down, Kat was in the room. I didn't send tracks back and forth. We were together each studio session to make this album what it actually became. So that was another beautiful part as I had his input on what I would do lyrically and vocally to be able to come and bring the project to what it became.
And that makes a big difference, right? That face to face, like working together in the studio, instant feedback. You're not sending something, waiting 2 days to hear back. I mean, I would imagine that process, you just get a much better product in general.
Definitely, definitely, because you get a chance to really gel, especially when this is our first time actually working together. We got a chance to see how each other work, how we like to actually record music. Cap got a chance to see how I like to have my vocals mixed and how I like to edit as far as the vocals go. So it's definitely a better all around process. And I feel like the finished product will reflect that we actually were together when we were recording this project.
That's awesome. And did you record this? Because I know you're from Newark, but also I know you're living in St. Louis. So like, did you all record this in St. Louis, or did you fly back to Jersey for this?
So I was here in St. Louis. And Cap is a native of St. Louis. Um, so we recorded all this entire project except for one song. We recorded at Suburban Pro Studios in St. Louis. Shout out to Matt Sawicki, who mixed, mastered, and recorded this project. Did an amazing job.
That's really cool. I mean, do you because you rep Jersey so much? I mean, are you able to channel those Jersey vibes that you want to get out in St. Louis? I mean, is there any challenge in that being geographically in a different space?
When I first got here on the scene, I got on the scene in St. Louis in 2015. Um, it was the complete opposite of what I expected. Everybody was pretty much really embracing of the New Jersey element that I brought along with me. And I was expecting some pushback when I first, made myself known. But for the most part, it's it's pretty much it's all love. I mean, I feel like a lot of the Midwest as a whole, they really have the opportunity to be influenced and hear everything because of they're in the middle of the country. They're able to hear the West Coast sound, the East Coast sound, the Southern sound, and they kind of really take bits and pieces of all three and make it their own. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about living in the Midwest now, is that I get a chance to see how everybody kind of digests different styles, but the Midwest does have their own identity. So I didn't really get any pushback as far as being from Jersey. Everybody knows I'm a New Jersey native. I'm born, raised. I didn't get out to St. Louis until I was an adult. So everybody pretty much knows that I'm a New Jersey kid to the death.
Yes, but you're enjoying St. Louis. I mean, do you what's the difference between living out in St. Louis versus Jersey?
I mean, the biggest difference is, the slang is different. The some of the things that I may reference to people is definitely different. I mean, you got places like Jersey Mike's that are everywhere, and I tell everybody, "Oh, that's not a real New Jersey sandwich. You need you need a real East Coast sandwich."
Yes.
But but the biggest difference is just the some of the things that I grew up influenced by, and that I grew up, and that's staples in my childhood and growing up. I can't really relate with anybody on that. Um, but aside, it's quieter, it's slower. I mean, being from the city, it's definitely hustle bustle, and everybody's on the go, but being here, it's a little bit slower, and I definitely appreciate that. You know what I mean? Just for my
Yes.
peace of mind.
No, I felt that when I moved from Jersey to Virginia, and I felt like everything really slowed down and people were just not in the hurry driving, just walking, like day-to-day stuff. Like it was definitely a lot more relaxed. And I like that too. I like that much better than feeling like you're always late to something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man, that's awesome. On Fever's High, you said that you're a fly hustler with nerd tendencies, which I thought was a really cool line. And I'd love to hear you just like elaborate more on that. Like, what is that? When you talk about nerd tendencies, like, what are you into you know that makes you feel that way? And because it was a cool juxtaposition there.
Got you. It's funny. A lot of people ask me about that line, and reason I say that and the nerd tendencies that I have is that, I mean, if you come to my studio right now, I have action figures all across the studio. I mean, we're
Nice.
talking Batman, Spider-Man, Power Rangers, Spawn, the Predator. I mean, I that's just, I still watch Power Rangers to this day. So I have big, big nerd tendencies, man. But at the same time, one of another major side of or part of me is that I did grow up in Newark. I did see a lot of things as far as the streets, and I was able to embrace that to a certain degree, but also keep that side of me as far as I know what's going on out there. I can be involved to a certain extent, but at the same time, this is also who I am. So a lot of people, when they meet me or hear my music, I think that they can sense that I've seen things, I've been around things as far as, urban life goes, but at the same time, that's not all of who I am. I'm very well read, and I still like things that don't involve what most rappers would consider to be normal.
Yes. What I love about that line, I think why it probably stands out to so many people is just the honesty of it. Because if we go back towards like that mixtape era, nobody would admit to watching Power Rangers or anything like
Right,
that. Like
right.
that's like taboo. It was like I don't have a regular job. I don't, like anything that might be um, you know, criticized in any way. Like it was very much like almost a fear of like people just being their authentic selves. Like and I think like that's a great evolution of hip hop, and something that you're embracing is just like putting your whole self out there versus just the pieces you think people might latch on to.
Definitely. And I feel like guys like Lupe Fiasco help with that, push that forward.
Mm.
Guys like MF Doom, with the whole MF Doom character and how he even pre- presented his music. I feel like helped with that. I mean, and even with one thing I always loved about, Wu-Tang, for instance, like their nicknames, like Johnny Blaze is the Ghost Rider. So for Method Man to embrace that as an AKA or alias was always super dope to me. Same with Ghostface, calling himself Tony Stark. I always thought that was super cool. So I always thought that. I was like, they're comic book heads too. We know that they're like not all the way submerged into the street life. In order for them to embrace those as aliases, or just another part of who they are and their persona. So I feel like that definitely helped with me being able to embrace it and then share that in my music at the same time.
That's really cool. I love that explanation. I also really appreciated just the lyricism on a song like "Bogies in My Ashtray," for example. Can you talk about just like the writing process in terms of like how your rhymes really come together, and come together and to become a song like "Bogies in My Ashtray"?
It's funny about Bogies in My Ashtray is I was, for whatever reason, one morning I woke up maybe around like 4 a.m. and just couldn't go back to sleep. And Bogies in My Ashtray was actually inspired by, a lot of it is inspired by true life things. I talk about one of my friends who's currently serving 35 years for murder and armed robbery. I talk about other friends that, I kind of feel as though they were takers. They were here for the ride. They didn't all the way support, or it wasn't genuine. But that I woke up one morning at 4 a.m. and Cap had sent that beat to me. And I mean, my pen just, it kind of felt like it was just pouring out of me, man. With that song, the beat just spoke to me, and that song just came about. And the reason I even named it "Bogies in My Ashtray" is because while I was thinking of the lines and the bars, literally had a cigarette in my hand and was putting it out in the ashtray, and that
Oh
just
man.
kind of, it just kind of just felt synonymous. Like it just felt right. You know what I mean? But the lyrics in that song just, um, it's near and dear. Um, Another reason that I feel as though is near and dear is because I have my boy Accurate on the song, and he and I have gone through ups and downs in our relationship, and I kind of touch on things like of that nature, especially in the second verse. So to have him featured on that was really cool, and kind of comes full circle for he and I to to come back and work again.
No, that's great. I mean, those kinds of backstories really bring the project even more to life. Knowing things like that, that on to the average listener, it's a great song. But when you know the history behind it, it makes it even like more complex, and adds that other layer to it.
Definitely. And I always appreciated the fact of with the hip hop music, at least for the artists that are being true and genuine. When you hear backstories and things of that nature, and like you said, it makes the song touch home even more. It makes you love the song even more. So I definitely try to present that as well in my music, especially with the lyrics and the stories I try to tell.
That's awesome. And when you look at naming the album Scam Musial after a Cardinal legend, being in St. Louis, shout out Frank Thomas on the album. Did you
Right.
grow up like a baseball fan? Are you because I mean Frank Thomas is one of those guys from my childhood that is always him and Griffey, like, and most people either loved one or the other. A lot of
Right.
people didn't love both. It's like you're a team Big Hurt, or you're Griffey Jr. with the backwards Mariners cap.
Right. Right. So I grew up in a big baseball family. All three of my brothers, including myself, we all played baseball growing up. My grandfather coached us. I mean, he coached, I want to say probably about 20 years coaching Little League Baseball in Jersey. We're a big New York Yankees family. Except for my brother Marcus, he's a Mets fan. He's the only outsider here.
Oh
I mean, he
man.
loved he loved Mike Piazza. So
Oh man.
so, but it's funny, we played the Frank Hurt game on Sega growing up. We were actually we were team both. We were in the middle. We loved Griffey and we loved Frank Thomas, Big Hurt at the same time. So baseball was definitely in the house. I mean, we love baseball. I mean, my brother still watches and can tell you and spit off any kind of baseball facts to this day. Still has his baseball cards in the whole 9 yards, man.
Man, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's cool to hear that, and not surprised being from Newark that Yankees. It seems like a lot of people in Jersey gravitate more towards the Yankees than the Mets.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, from my grandfather, my father, like I said, my brother Marcus is the only one that likes the Mets. We are a Yankee family. I mean, we used to go to minor league games. We used to go to Newark Bears games. We used to go to Somerset Patriots games in Jersey. I mean, so yeah, baseball has just been a part of my life as far back as I can remember.
Man, that's awesome. So, do you think the Yankees or the Mets, either team has a chance at Ohtani this offseason?
I think so. I think so. I definitely think so.
Man, as someone who's 10 minutes from Angel Stadium out here in Southern California, I hope not. But if he has to go somewhere, I'd rather see him go to the Yankees than the Mets.
So what's that like in being in that vicinity and seeing what's going on?
Man, it has been like such a depressing ride as an Angels fan. Like, what's amazing is being able to get $2 tickets off StubHub to go see
Oh
Ohtani
wow.
pitch. Like,
Yeah,
you just start to take it for granted in a sense. You're like, I try to tell my kids, like, this is like watching LeBron James, like
right.
anytime you want. Like,
That's
parking is
amazing.
only $20, and so you can really take the kids and see Ohtani pitch for less than $40, for a game, which is
That's,
crazy.
that's incredible, man. Wow.
And so we took advantage of it, but like, you just keep hoping this is the year they're going to turn it around. They're going to win so much that Otani's not going to want to be anywhere else. And then,
Right.
they implode like they always do. And it's like, well, he's probably gone.
It's a fact.
It's like you hope not, but like you kind of hope he does what's best for him too, and not, you know, go
Exactly.
goes to a place that actually wants to win.
Right. Right.
Yeah, man, it's tough. It's definitely tough being an Angels fan out here, and growing up a Yankees fan, and so I'm never gonna not root for the Yankees, but unless they're playing the Angels, really. So what do you think the Yankees need to do to turn it around? Because I mean, this was definitely a season, like they saved it by not going under 500, but missing the wild card, kind of imploding. A lot of guys just didn't quite have the seasons that they were supposed to have. Like, if you're Brian Cashman, where do you go from here?
I honestly think that they need to just work on cohesion, and that for me that goes from of course, you can't win without having great players. So they just need to work on cohesion. And like you said, a lot of guys did not have the seasons that we are known that they are known for or that we expected. So hopefully, they just get there, just get focused. And because I honestly don't feel like they need to make any major moves, but yeah, they just need to get focused and just
Yeah.
play, just play ball.
That no, that makes a lot of sense, man. I love the artwork too for the Scam Musial cover. How did the artwork come together? Like, what's the story behind that?
So at first we were looking for someone or a character to really portray the scam cat. Like we wanted to make a kind of like how Czarface has their character with the guy with the metal face and the cape, and we were looking for something that just looked scammy, yeah, if I could say
Mm.
that. So we were thumbing through history of people that created or did pulled off some of the greatest scams or heist and things of that nature, and it just wasn't fitting. So Cap is just like, well, how about we just find or draw somebody that has a mask on or some type of a turban or something, so their face is just obscured and they look like somebody that might scam you. Like, okay. So we kind of got influence from the Mortal Kombat character Ermac, who has the bandages wrapped around his face and kind of looks a little mysterious. So we kind of ran with that, mixed it in with a little bit of like a turban looking mask, and that's the scam character. So that the artwork, the face you see is actually who we call Scam Musial.
Man, that's awesome. Man, so in your research, looking up, some of the greatest scam artists ever, like what'd you find? Like what scam artists, do you feel, if you're making like you're the most skilled, the top scam artist, who are they?
We it's funny that you say that because the number one guy that stuck out to me, I don't know about for Capo, but for me, it was Martin Shkreli actually.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it was him who I actually somehow or another wanted him to be on the cover, but knew we would probably run into some kind of copyright issues with having his likeness on the album cover. But he's definitely the number one guy for me, especially within recent times, with everything that he had going on.
Man, yeah, that's wild. I still wonder if we're ever gonna get that Wu-Tang album that he bought.
Man, I would hope so eventually, especially because that has been possessed by the federal government when they seize his assets. So I would hope there was some kind of loophole within that agreement with that whole auction and everything. But I mean, I with it being a few years, I don't know if we'll get it, man. Fingers crossed, though.
It's got to some interns got to break into that evidence locker or
Yeah,
whatever they
right.
do.
Definitely.
That's what we need.
Right.
Something I really appreciate about you as an artist is just how much you put into performing and getting out there on stages. How important have you found that to be in today's age where all your music is really easily accessible through the digital streaming platforms? And so a lot of times performances kind of get neglected. Artists don't always get out there. It's like it's you see them more online than actually on stages. How important is that piece to you to be performing and be out there meeting people and having that physical presence?
It's everything. It for me, it's absolutely everything because with the especially the landscape of hip hop with the internet, it's so oversaturated with people that don't love it, don't put in the time and the effort. I mean, they might even just be doing it for fun. They might be doing it to get girls. I mean, it's just oversaturated with people online that claim to be an artist or MC or whatever. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's the true, lightning rod and deciding factor if you are really an MC is when you have to get on that stage and actually perform the song that you recorded wherever you recorded it in front of people.
Hmm.
It's not an easy task, and I mean, for me, it's everything because I actually what the things that I get that I've sat down wherever I was, wrote, recorded, now I get to share it with people in real time, see their reactions to it. And then after I'm done performing, I get to sit, talk with them, and actually build a relationship. And that's so important in today's climate with music is that fans want to be engaged with the actual artist. So if you come to my show and you see me up there sweating and it's really a workout, you know what I mean? It's really
Yes.
a workout up there and we get to actually chat and I somehow or another touched you in any kind of way, whether you just thought the lyrics were dope, whether you can relate to the things I'm rapping about, or whether I just impressed you with my technical abilities. Somehow or another, I get to talk to you and build a relationship, and you can follow me online and you can keep in touch with me. It's everything, man. So I feel like that's really the life's blood of what I do is being on stage.
That's awesome. And you came up, repping, the I standard showcases and being a part of those. How did those help you? Like what was it like, do you feel like that really helped kind of launch your career? Like how important were the I standard showcases?
I standard for me. Shout out to the J Hatch and the I standard as a those were everything for me because they taught me so much about the business. They showed me the importance of networking, especially when I would go to those beat camp seminars that they would have twice a year. They showed me the importance of talking to people, having business cards, but at the same time, they also opened my eyes by being able to interact with some of my favorite producers, right there in front of me, hear them talk about what they do in the lab. So that helped me sharpen my sword on the production side. But then also having to get on stage and play my music in front of a crowd. Actually, because it's funny when I say this and I tell people because they don't believe me, but every time before I perform, I get extremely nervous and almost have a panic attack. But once I actually get on stage, it goes away. So it kind of prepared me to to deal with that anxiety prior to getting on stage. But especially with not having to say anything, I'm on stage just playing beats. But I standard really, really was the launching pad for me, big time.
That's cool. Yeah, Jay Hatch has done a lot for a lot of people in terms of like just providing venues and spaces for performances. So it's cool to hear his name because we haven't talked in a while. So that's cool.
Yeah, man. I Hatch is would always showed me extreme love. I mean the whole staff, but Hatch has always showed me extreme love. Always was a flag waver of mine. So I mean I got nothing but high regards and utmost respect for Jay Hatch, definitely.
That's awesome, man. When you look at everything that you're doing today, making quality music, rocking shows, doing interviews like this, what do you feel it takes to get noticed in today's landscape?
It's it's that's kind of a catch-22 how I look at it now because like I said, it's so oversaturated with artists and I mean there's constant music coming out at all times. So I feel like it's getting easier for guys like me to actually care about lyrics. I mean, especially with the emergence of Griselda. Yeah, yeah. I just feel like them having the amount of notoriety that they have now, and all the things that they've accomplished have really opened doors for people like me, and so you just gotta just kind of stay persistent, stay consistent, and put out good music and continue to do bigger things and not stay stagnant and content with anything. Is for me, especially with the guys that I'm around. We accomplish one thing, one goal. We'll celebrate it, we'll appreciate it, and then it's like, all right, what can we do next? What can we do that'll further our cause and get more people tuned in or more people's attention? So I feel like, yeah, it's just with the internet and the accessibility that people have, it's a double-edged sword because of the amount of people that are out here putting out music. But it's also a blessing because once you're able to gain fans and gain traction, they can have, access to you at all times. You really don't need a label per se, or somebody really backing you. You can kind of do everything yourself, even though in order to get to a certain level, you will need, a team and some sort of budget. But to get started and kind of get it off the ground, you can just, you got to just go.
Exactly. No, exactly. Um, yeah, no, it's, and when you look at like what's coming up for you, like how would you, think about like the rest of 2023, 2024? Like what are your goals? What do you have coming up?
Well, it's funny because Capo and I have been talking about, Scam Musial too.
Nice.
And we really, I mean, the reception that we've gotten for this album has been, way greater than he or I even expected, especially for our first outing as a group. So I mean, we definitely want to, put that out and get that recorded and done for 2024. Another group that I'm in, Revenge of the Nerds, Rotten. Shout out to Damon and Supreme Soul. We have a video dropping later on this month. Um, so we have an entire EP that we have coming out probably early next year as well. And I'm actually in the process of recording an EP solo. So I just want to take these projects and this, these groups and this music that I got right now that I'm kind of sitting on, and definitely get it into higher, places. I want to, especially being around my bro Damon, who's had licensing placements and TV shows and video games and commercials. That's something I definitely want to get into and looking to accomplish in 2024. That's definitely one of my major goals on my list there.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure, man. And if you don't mind sending a picture over, that would be awesome. So I could you know, do the artwork and everything for it.
Definitely. Definitely. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and anything I can do to help out, support anytime you want to come on the podcast, whatever, like I'm here. Just please feel free to reach out. I know as I see stuff, that you're releasing, I'll definitely reach out. Actually, I have one more question for you too before I forget. I don't want to lose
Sure.
you and have to be like, oh, can you call back?
Right,
Um
right.
uh, you know, you're an artist who was able to break through and get love, with different podcasts, including Southern Vanguard Radio. What do you think it is that helped you really break through to get noticed, to get that kind of love where it's, there's a lot of artists submitting to a lot of podcasts. Like that's not an easy thing to do.
Right, right. One thing that I did early on in my career was always made it a point to um, make myself available, I guess I say, for lack of better term. So any way that I could connect with somebody, or anybody that I met, I was always genuine with them and always told them anything you need, let me know. Whether that was me coming on their podcast, supporting their podcast or radio show, or I always showed love to people. And I think that kind of turned into people appreciating me and showing me love. But at the same time, the fact that I had good product and good music, it was kind of easier. You know what I mean? As far
Mm.
as, oh man, Rec's a good dude. Rex got good music. Oh, let's support. I've heard people tell me that, like, you're a good dude, you make good music. It's easy for me to support. So I feel that that's always played a major role. Is that I don't feel like I have connections in the music industry. I feel like I have friends in the music industry, and that's always made things a lot easier for me as far as people helping me spread the word and supporting and promoting. So I think that plays a major factor into why I have been able to do some of the things that I've been able to do in my career.
That's awesome. I mean, just being easy to work with and being a good dude, that's like half the battle right there, right?
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I learned from, going to the I Standard events and having conversations with Jay Hatch is that nobody wants to work with a pain in the neck. If you're easy to work with and you're cool and, you're genuine and show love, you'll 9 times out of 10, people will reciprocate that to you. So I definitely got to tip my hats off to him because, this is definitely a cutthroat business. People aren't always going to be friendly. But if you can walk in a room and change the energy and bring positivity to it, you'll get, what you put out and then some. So definitely.